My name is Joe Henry, and I own with my wife Henry Farms, and we also have the J. Henry and Sons bourbon business. 7 years ago, my wife and I took a trip down to Louisville, and did the Bourbon Trail. And prior to that, I'd always been interested in bourbon, and so about 7 years ago, we got serious about possibly coming out with our own brand of bourbon. December of 2009, we did our first batch. The result of that is in 2015, March of 2015, we did our first bottling, and now we have our 5-year-old 92 proof bourbon. This house is probably well over 100 years old. It was a home that was here when my father purchased the farm in 1946. I was brought up here, and we decided it'd be a neat idea to make this house a tasting room. The mash bill of our bourbon is about 60% corn and 14% wheat, 14% rye, and the balance is barley malt that we get from Breeze up in Chilton, Wisconsin. We aged the bourbon in a rick house on the farm that was originally a dairy barn. We converted that into a rick house. And we made a commitment when we first got into this business that we were not going to release any bourbon until it was at least 5 years old. We own about 900 acres that we raise seed corn, soybean seed, and then the corn and grains for the bourbon business. The wheat and rye and the corn for the bourbon probably only amounts to about 40 acres, and then the rest of the production is on a typical year, on an average year, we're probably running 2,000 or so acres of seed corn and seed soybeans. The seed corn business typically starts in April. About the last week of April is our planting season. That will last about 3 to 4 weeks. And so once planting is done, we're in the fields controlling weeds and insects. And the next big season is typically detasseling, and that starts in July. That usually will last another 3 or 4 weeks. And then after detasseling is done, we will, for the most part, prepare for harvesting. Our seed corn harvest typically starts in August to late August and runs until the end of September. The red corn that we use for the bourbon, that's later, and we won't be harvesting that until October. Typically, most of the seed is shipped out and out of here by the end of January. So when we remodeled the old dairy barn on the farm, we decided that we were not going to temperature control it, and we feel that this is an advantage in our aging process of the bourbon, because the colder it gets, the more the bourbon barrels contract, the wood contracts, and essentially squeezes the bourbon out of the wood. And then in the summer, when it starts warming up, the wood expands and then kind of sucks the spirits back into the wood. So this really adds to the flavor, this in and out motion of the spirits. Right now we've probably got about 550 barrels or so of bourbon aging, and we'll be bottling probably around, hopefully once things get moving, hopefully around 100 barrels a year is our goal.